Today's gospel reading comes from Luke chapter 18, verses 9 to 14.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. Two men went up to a temple to pray, and one was a Pharisee and the other was a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus, "God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves and rogues and adulterers, even like this tax collector over here. I fast twice a week, I get a tenth of my income." But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, "God, be merciful to me, a sinner." I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. The gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Today we're continuing our stewardship series, Living by Faith. This is all about how we understand a stewardship lifestyle and how following these values can help lead us to abundant life. Now, there are two really important truths that we've learned so far. And go to the next slide, because I want to remind you of those. Go to the one, not the sermon title.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. There's no takeaways?
Nope.
Wow. So, somebody went and redid my thing. So, there are two important things that we have to remember. And these are two of the things that we've, kind of the values that we had. There have been our takeaways so far throughout this month. And the first one is this. Our response to our blessings that God gives us is what leads us to abundant life. Sometimes we get confused and we think that it's experiencing these blessings that give us, it's having these blessings that give us abundant life. And that's not true. We're given these blessings so that our response, the way we use them, what we do with them, is what connects us to abundant life, not simply having them. That is why giving is so important, because it's through giving, it's one of our primary responses, through taking these blessings and helping others to experience God's grace. It's through that we actually experience abundant life, not just simply enjoying whatever benefits that we get. And the second one is this, and it's a quote about gratitude. And basically, to summarize it, it goes like this. Here it is. Gratitude is not for God's sake. It's for ours. Because gratitude is a powerful seed that grows on us the kinds of emotions and faith that combat worry, fear, bitterness, and etc. The negative emotions that burden us and keep us up at night. Gratitude is so important to the stewardship lifestyle because as we develop and cultivate gratitude in our minds, in our attitudes, and in our heart, it chases away those things that tear us down. So being grateful is important. Our attitude towards our blessings is important because that is what leads us to abundant life. So this week, we have this gospel story, this parable that Jesus tells us. And it's so important because it gives us yet a third important value about stewardship lifestyle, about what values or truths we can have in our lives that connect us to abundant life. And so we begin with a question. In whom do you put your trust? Who do you trust? Is it yourself? Is it your accomplishments? Is it your spouse? Some of you are laughing, I know, inside. Is it leaders? Is it God? Since we are in church today, I'm willing to bet most of you would say God, right? Because, this is church. You're supposed to at least be, cognizant of God at this moment in your life, right? Well, what kind of God do you believe in? Because there's lots of different images that we have of God, and we tend to have an image or a picture of God that we might put our trust in, but only in that kind of a God. For example, a lot of my seminary students, they loved this picture of Jesus, the radical, rabble-rousing, let's turn the tables over in the temple, the voice of the marginalized, that kind of prophetic Jesus. That was the Jesus they put their trust in. That's what they wanted to be like. However, they didn't really go far enough because they didn't understand if they really emulated Jesus in that way, then their ministry would last for 3 years and then they would be crucified. And most of my seminary students weren't into that. But we tend to take just parts of God, or a picture of God, or just our favorite things about God, and we put our trust in that image of God, instead of seeing God for who God really is, and truly trusting God. And putting our trust in God is so important, because if we don't trust God, then we're never going to be stewards of all that God has given us. And we're not going to be able to connect ourselves to the abundant life that God is offering us. Now, in the parable that Jesus shares with us today, there are two people, and it's basically a comparison. You have the Pharisee, and let's think of Pharisees as the faithful churchgoer in today's society. You know, the churchgoer that goes and always shows up on Sundays, generally enjoys religious acts, rites, and tasks. These are the people that put their heart into doing what is right, and they take great pride in all that they've given and sacrificed for God. They are really close to God in their hearts and their minds, and they think, I'm dedicated to God, but for the grace of God, there I would be like that person over there. That's who the first person is. The second person is the tax collector. And as a tax collector, don't think of someone like who works for the IRS, which is a fine profession. Think of someone who works as a corrupt toll booth operator. Someone whom you have to pass on your way to work, but instead of just collecting the right amount of money, they collect a lot more, and they're not in the least bit sorry about it. They are usually unrepentant, because they know if they were to be repentant, they would lose everything. They would lose their advantage in life and their ability to graft and to take more than what was due. These are the type of the people that know that they're at the bottom of the barrel. But hey, even people at the bottom of the barrel need to eat. These are the people that utterly are dependent on God's mercy. Two of them go to pray. And one, the professional religious person who goes to church every Sunday and is dedicated to God, looks at the people around him and says, I am so glad that I am not like them. I am so much better. I go to church and I tithe, I do all the right things, I say all the right prayers, and I'm really good at praying too. This is the kind of attitude that first person has. And all of that attitude, what that tells us is that they trust in themselves. They don't trust in God. They trust in themselves to be worthy of God. They trust in themselves to do the right thing, and they trust that because they're doing the right things, God's going to come through for them because, well, they deserve it. Because, well, they're there every Sunday in church, and they give money, and they do all the right things, and they're good moral people. And they're just better than those people that flagrantly don't vote the right way, or wear the right clothes, or say the right things in the right language, or just aren't polite enough when you're in the grocery line. Those other people. And then there's the second person there, and the comparison between the first and the second. And the difference in both of these people comes down to, where do they glance? Where do they look? The first person is constantly looking around and comparing themselves to everyone else and seeing how they stack up. The second person is not even noticing, knows they are sinners, they are less than everybody else around them. And they're looking directly to God. And they're crying out, God, have mercy on me. I don't deserve it. And they're putting all their trust in the mercy and the grace of God. Why is this so important? Trusting in God. We'll go to our takeaway for today. Trusting in God is foundational to living the spiritual lifestyle. This lifestyle will help us experience God's life. Why is trusting in God so important? Because when we trust in God, what it does is it helps us to keep perspective. It helps us to be grateful. It helps us to understand that we really don't deserve heaven. We don't deserve these blessings. We don't deserve the salary that we have. It's not because we worked hard. It's not because we're smarter than other people. It's just the way the world is. Sometimes people have stuff and other times people don't. But all of us are sinners. And all of us fall short of the glory of God. And none of us deserve the grace and the glory and the blessings from God. Understanding this and putting our trust solely in God's mercy, not in our ability to be spiritual, is so important because it helps us to keep perspective. It helps us to understand where we stand before God and how much we need God. It stops us from putting all our faith in ourselves and our ability to be spiritual. But it also helps us to stop having unhealthy attachments to all the accomplishments we have and all of the stuff that we've accumulated. We tend to put our joy in those things. We tend to put all of our energy into the stuff we accumulate or the accomplishments we have or all the stuff that we've done instead of our joy and the opportunities that God has given us to allow us and others to experience God's grace. Leading the stewardship lifestyle understands that we trust God in everything that we do. We trust God in everything that we have. We don't think of things as our own, but instead we understand that the blessings we have been given to us so that we can use them to help others in creative ways to understand who God is. And we can use them, we can give them away so that we can have abundant life. There are two attitudes here that are so important. And sometimes we dismiss the Pharisee and think, oh, I'm not like that. But when we take a good, long look in the mirror, sometimes we're more like that Pharisee than we realize. We put our trust too much in ourselves and not in God to provide all that we need. And that includes not just the material things, the financial things, but also includes the healings that we need, the relationships, reconciliation that we need, the ability to rejoice, and the opportunities to rejoice that we need. We trust that God will provide all of those things, even when we are unable to do so ourselves. Amen. Our takeaway is just simply what's on the screen right there. Go back one. Trusting in God is foundational to living the stewardship lifestyle. This lifestyle is what will help us experience abundant life, not having lots of things. Let's stand for a song.